You're about 400 pounds of stupid.
You're going to jail. It's because of this. That's what you want to do?
It is one crazy world out there. And while we depend on law enforcement to take care of us, sometimes people slip through the cracks. It is one dirty job. Bounty hunters are shot at, stabbed, insulted, and much more. But somebody's got to do it.
Goats? Not.
Well, for years, the public face of bounty hunting has been one man, Dwayne Chapman.
Again, 30 prior arrests. You know, what do you do with these guys?
AKA Dog the Bounty Hunter. Dwayne originally made headlines because of his role in the arrest of an infamous Andrew Luster, and he became even more well-known when he was arrested in Mexico for legal technicalities, fled to the United States, and narrowly escaped extradition to Mexico. After this, he earned a spot on the TV show Take This Job, and soon he had his own TV show. But even more than his renowned manhunting skills and fierce attitude, Dwayne became famous for his firm belief that everybody, even hardened criminals, deserves a second chance. But while Dwayne has become a household name, there's still a lot most people don't know. How true is the image that's portrayed on the various TV shows in which he starred? What was his role in the nationwide manhunt to catch the murderer Brian Laundrie? And is it true that this famous hunter of criminals is himself a murderer? Before we begin, take a second to hit that thumbs up icon and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Let's get on the road and hunt down some answers as we find out.
What happened?
Is Dog the Bounty Hunter married? Whenever you saw Dog on TV, his wife, Beth, usually wasn't far behind. And while Beth wasn't exactly Dwayne's high school sweetheart, in fact, she was wife number 5. It really did seem like he'd found the perfect woman to stay by his side. She helped run his business and even did some bounty hunting on her own. But alas, no good thing can last forever, and tragedy struck in 2019 when Beth Chapman passed away of throat cancer. Months after Beth's passing, Dwayne was still grieving. The two of them were so perfect for each other that Dwayne originally vowed he would never marry again. In fact, Beth used to joke that if he ever did, she would haunt him as a ghost. So he wasn't exactly looking for a future wife when he picked up a phone and called a local excavator for one reason or another. But the excavator didn't answer. It was a woman named Francie. She explained that the excavator that Dwayne was trying to reach, Bob, had also tragically passed away of cancer just a few months ago. The two couldn't believe the coincidence and bonded over their shared grief. Dwayne asked her out, but Francie made him go to church with her before she made her decision. After that, it was pretty clear the two were also meant to be. And in 2021, the pair were married. But that's not quite the end of that story. What would have been a perfect ceremony was in fact marred by the sad absence of one very important person, Dwayne's 22-year-old daughter, Bonnie. So why was Bonnie left off the guest list? It depends on who you ask. Both Dwayne and his daughter claim that the other initiated the rift, claiming that political differences instigated that dispute. So unfortunately, politics got in the way of what could have been a perfect day for a guy who's already been through so much. Did Dog the Bounty Hunter find Brian Laundrie? Every few years, there happens to be a crime so gruesome, so depraved, that the whole country can't help but take notice. And one case like this was the disappearance, death, and dismemberment of Gabby Petito. And one lesser-noticed aspect of this spectacle was the involvement of Dog. The full story goes like this. Her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, killed her, and his body was found after a nationwide hunt. But before that, it seemed as if the entire country was searching for one guy. Dwayne was certainly no exception. Shocked by the gruesome crime, he leapt into action, gathering a team of ex-military operatives to hunt down the murderous creep. Dwayne set up a tip line, getting thousands of calls and traveling across the country. But despite his good intentions, Dwayne was met with resistance by a chosen few who took issue with his presence in Florida. Florida. The vice president of the Florida Bail Bondsman Association claimed that Dwayne did not have the legal right to bounty hunt in Florida, and Laundrie's parents claimed that Dwayne was only in the search for publicity. These people just couldn't believe Dwayne was acting out of the goodness of his heart, even interrupting his honeymoon to do so. Fortunately, none of this ended up mattering all that much. Dwayne had to pull out of the search because of an ankle injury, and the saga came to an end months later when Laundrie's remains were found. Laundrie took his own life, but it's very possible that Dwayne's involvement, which made millions aware of the case, helped generate enough tips to find the body. What we do know is Dwayne wasn't gonna sit by and do nothing while a killer possibly roamed free. And while the criticisms of Dwayne might not have been good-spirited, there was some truth behind them. It's true, Dwayne can't legally carry a gun, and there are limits on his power because of his past. What was in his past? Let's go find out. Why did Dog the Bounty Hunter go to prison? Dwayne has never hidden the fact that before his bounty hunting days, he dabbled in the criminal underworld. In fact, it's his very experience in the dark side that led him to pursue justice and informed his current philosophy about the importance of second chances. But how much of Dwayne's seedy past has he really shared with the world? And how much still lies uncovered? Bounty hunting is, of course, one of the more dangerous jobs you can have. In his work, he has been arrested, attacked, and shot at. So if anybody needed a firearm to protect themselves, it would be this guy. But Dwayne wasn't always the do-gooder he is today. In fact, from an early age, he was getting into more than his fair share of trouble. As a teenager, he ran away to join a motorcycle gang, the Devil's Disciples, who, if you can imagine, don't spend most of their time helping old ladies cross the street. Well, one night, Dwayne and his friends were in a car, waiting to buy some cannabis, when everything went wrong, and Dwayne was in the getaway car. But because of a legal technicality, Dwayne wasn't just charged as an accomplice, even though he wasn't the one to pull the trigger. In 1969, Dwayne was charged with first-degree murder, sentenced to 5 years in jail. Well, in prison, Dwayne cleaned up his act. Quite literally, he worked as a barber, and he was on great terms with the staff. Allegedly, he prevented a fellow prisoner from escaping, while saving his life in the process. Dwayne was released after less than a year, and immediately began leading a life of virtue and justice. How did Dog the Bounty Hunter get his name? While Dog has cleaned up his act in the years since jail, there's still one memento he keeps from his life of crime: his name. But what does Dog actually mean? It all goes back to his time in the Devil's Disciples, where Dwayne earned a reputation for being a surprisingly religious guy. The president of the group called him God, spelled backwards, because he spoke about God, and he was also a good friend. Man's best friend, you might say. But even after prison, Dog kept his moniker. It turned out to be surprisingly apt for his profession as a bounty hunter, because people would say about him, "This dog can hunt." How much money does Dog the Bounty Hunter have? Bounty hunting is a high-risk, high-reward kind of gig. If you catch the perp, you can get an impressive payout. But if you fail to find him, then you've wasted a lot of time and money. And that's not factoring in the horrible things that can happen to you on the job. So what about Dwayne? How much cash has he amassed? Being America's premier bounty hunter? Well, quite a bit, it turns out. Most estimates put Dwayne's net worth around 6 to 7 million. That's certainly more than most of his peers are raking in. So where does all this dough come from? Well, his bounty hunting business is pretty lucrative, of course. Then you throw in his various TV shows. But one lesser-known source of wealth is something you might not expect. Dwayne Chapman is a best-selling author. Sure, the guy isn't someone you'd expect to be staying up late with a quill, writing esoteric tracts, but he's in fact had 2 books on the bestseller lists. First, his autobiography, You Can Run But You Can't Hide. Then his second book, Where Mercy Is Shown, Mercy Is Given. All in all, it's quite an impressive success for a guy who was once ready to spend years behind bars. So there he is, Dwayne Chapman, with all his wrinkles and more. Certainly not a perfect man, he'll be the first to admit that. But we here at What Happened respect a man who has made mistakes and grown from them, more than the guy who played it safe and never took a risk, never admitted he was wrong. But that's enough of me, now we want to hear from you. Did you watch Dog the Bounty Hunter? What's a great episode you recall? Do you think it was too fast to remarry after the passing of Beth? Or is he just living his life to the fullest? Get in the comments and tell me all things Dog the Bounty Hunter. And before you high-speed it out of here after your next perp, smash that thumbs up icon to show support. Subscribe to our channel and come back often so we can keep telling you
What happened?